Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 360. We're doing a circle, folks. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, from beautiful Sauvage, Minnesota, joined by Charlie Carden from Beer City, USA, Kalamazoo, or Cistern City, whatever fake Michigan city we can come up with.
Don't talk to me about Severance City. Don't talk to me about Severance City.
You should just work for the state of Michigan publicity, Charlie. I've never somebody met who just loves their locale as much as you.
Todd, you know, when you love a thing, it's eternal. You know, I know you've lived in Minnesota for 20 years now. Where's the love?
Pretty close.
I mean, what's not to love, I guess.
I absolutely love it. It's just, I'm like...
You love the frigid winters. You love I know you love the Vikings.
Yeah, it's the second biggest theater market in the United States. So if you like live music, live performances, it's great. Beautiful, tons of parks. It's a major city, so close to the airport. It's wonderful. All for sports. Very
cool. Oh my God!
Yeah.
I think that was the most ramshackle tourism pitch I've ever heard. So I'm impressed.
It's wonderful, and it's got Paisley Park and Kirby Puckett. Yeah,
and you still haven't gone. You don't know Kirby Puckett, and yeah.
I've lived close to it. Yes, I lived. I worked close, as we talked about. But oh well, enough about the towns we reside in. But we're back to talk about all things fun in the world of nerd. This week, though, we've got a very interesting cover, and I picked it because this takes me back to when I got back into comics, and that is Avengers number 360, where all the rage was the speculator market and special covers, chromium, die cut, bagged, came with cards. I think one was printed with somebody's blood. They did weird stuff.
This one in particular, now this is dated March of 1993, so this was my senior year in high school, okay? I actively had a print subscription to I say print subscription, that's all there was to this, but this was back in the days when your comic did not come in a plastic bag, but it did come in a brown paper wrapper around it. So yeah, so you know, and you know, I've mentioned before, I live in the house I grew up in. We now have a mail slot on the front door, but back in those days we had just a regular mail box on the side of the house. So if it was pouring rain and it didn't get in there right, it was toast. So I remember this was definitely one that I got. But alternately, Todd, this is from the run that you have now forbidden me to continue reading because I bitched about it too much. I said, it's too bad. You said, you got to quit it, move on. And so I did finally move on. I gave up reading volume 1 of the Avengers. I'm now on to Volume 3, because I skipped the Heroes Reborn? That was like what was that, Rob Liefeld's take?
Heroes Return, right?
No, that's when they came back, but they were reborn after Onslaught, you know, sucked them into an alternate dimension or whatever. So I'm now reading the Busiek, George Perez run.
Got it.
Which is excellent. I love that run, and that's one of the signs, you know, George Perez, who we know is going to be leaving us because of his terminal illness. Todd and I did get a chance to meet him back in 2020 at C2E2, and I do have a signed cover of the issue number 2 of that run, which I just read recently. So such an immeasurable talent.
Enough of that. Let's talk about the cover, though, Char. That's what we came to talk about. This was $3. It was bronze embossed with alternate visions. So, but that was like everybody had one. I remember there was a Fantastic Four white cover where the Human Torch went Nova, I guess what they would call it. I don't know. Right. He does when he becomes super white. And then, those covers I remember had the Wolverine like top secret cover where it looked like Wolverine slashed through. You opened it up.
Right.
So yeah,
they did more than one. They had a silver one in this where it was like Black Knight smacking Cap Shield. And over in the West Coast Avengers, they had a red one. It was Mephisto. That was one of the last issues of that series. So yeah, between 92 and 93, it was all the thing. And we don't see we have variant covers now to beat the band, but
that's the major one.
Yeah, They don't get this
No.
crazy, so this is pretty
Nope.
sweet. So
No, yeah, it was
yeah,
kind of the end of I mean, right when I got into college, 93, 94, you really saw these die off and the speculator market just went away. So, which, wasn't
right,
a bad thing, but it really hurt a lot of collectors who thought those Valiant comics or whatever was
right,
going to send their kid to college.
right. Yep,
And I probably
right,
own this comic. I'd have to look, but I think I do still
right.
own this physical comic. And I'm sure it's worth like $2.
Count it. Yes, half price, half
At
price off.
best.
So, but you know who's a full price, top shelf, worth every penny that we pay? That would be the quality journalistic nuggets of information we get from our own gal pal, our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. So let's pop on down to Hollywood and Vine and let's get the latest update from this grand old lady. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Oh, Madam Webb, it's tax time coming up, and just be careful because I don't know if you knew, but that money that you borrowed from the government because of COVID impact to all of your businesses, they want to know what you actually did with that. So I'm sure, you've got all of your paperwork in line and your chinchilla factory is still roaring. I'm sure your side business, which is soup in a sock, did well as, and it's still running. But you know what?
Boot
Let us
suit.
know.
You got it.
And if we don't see you, we assume you're on the lam from big government.
Madam Webb, I just got to ask you, how many chinchillas had to die for you to look so fly? The eternal question. Think about it.
She's trying to bring
Anyway,
back, those. Yeah, they're trying to bring back those leg warmers with chinchillas. They just don't make a lot of, they're small. So
no. Anyway, Todd, this first story up. This is your hot spot. So go on.
Yes, I didn't think it was going to happen because this was on like the charts of movies that were going to be out, and I'm like, Bob's Burgers? Wouldn't we have heard about this thing? And wouldn't they have talked about it? And guess what, Charlie? It's true. It's real, Bob's Burgers. And we got a trailer. This is coming out.
True.
This looks
true.
phenomenal. It's going to be an over-the-top, basically call it like The Simpsons. That's kind of how they're treated. I mean, The Simpsons movie was better than we could have expected. More higher animation budget and was very fun. We got Spider-Pig out of it.
It's funny. The Simpsons podcast I listened to. I've been sampling it, and they took that movie and broke it up into threes, and they really. It didn't sound like they were loving on it as much, but I remember that movie so fondly from just a few years ago when my sons were really into that movie. So we watched it like 40 times. So is it as great as the golden era of The Simpsons? Not so much. I don't know how that stacks up with Bob's Burgers. Like if Bob's Burgers was great, and maybe now it's not as good as it was, and maybe this movie will just be kind of a pash where it's like, well, we're trying to appeal to a wide audience, so we're going to do a bunch of crazy shit, because that's how I always felt the Simpsons movie was. It was a little too crazy, you know what I mean? So does this run the risk of being like a little bit too out there? Or I mean, they got to do something different, right? I mean, otherwise why make a movie?
You know what? I don't know if it really matters. It's not like Bob's Burgers is as big as The Simpsons. It is a niche show at best. It's successful at Fox. It's been on like a billion seasons. I think this is owned by Disney. I'm not 100% sure. I think it is. The episodes show up on Hulu, and I think it was part of the Fox deal that Disney owns, which is fantastic because Tina should be a Disney princess, so I'm all in it. Gene could be one too. Yes.
Why not?
But the plot trailer, like you said, what could they do? So this actually sounds like just a regular Bob's Burgers episode, but what Bob's Burgers has really done really well is the musical elements. They really got into music, and I love it. They always have fun. And it's always just really enjoyable. So the plot is, in the Bob's Burgers movie, the Belcher family are forced to close their restaurant doors after a ruptured water main creates a sinkhole in the front of the entrance. Because of this turn of events, the family hopes for a successful summer for the restaurant are all but ruined, and it's up to Bob and Linda to find a way to keep their business up and running. Meanwhile, the musical comedy will see their kids, Linda, Tina, and Gene, try and solve a mystery that could be the key to saving the restaurant. One of my favorite episodes of Bob's Burgers, essentially they reenacted The Goonies, and they had a great take on Cyndi Lauper's song Good Enough called Taffy Butt. So,
oh my God, terrific. Amazing.
All it needs to do is be fun, I imagine this will be it's May 27th. I don't know what they're expecting with this, but apparently they pitched this movie. It was originally supposed to they started talking about this in 2017. It was supposed to be happening in 2020, COVID. So there you go. I'm excited about this, and I might be one of 3 people in the theater to watch it.
Why? The good news is I don't feel like I'd have to catch up, because Bob's Burgers is not this big episodic masterpiece that it'd be like, oh, well, if I don't have reference to blah, blah, I've seen enough of it.
How will you know what's happening?
I've seen enough of it to know that it's a family that's flipping burgers, and it's a seaside town, and they got a couple regulars, and yeah, so it's not too hard.
Tina likes butts. Gene likes music, and Louise is crazy. There you go.
Louise is crazy. Well, who else is crazy is the originator of this next story. You and I, and John in particular, and basically everybody that I know, loves Weird Al Yankovic. Weird Al's in 3D in 1983 was one of the first cassette tapes I ever owned back in the old neighborhood, Grosse Pointe. So I loved it. Nature Trail to Hell, Eat It. What was the theme from
Dare to Be
Rocky
Stupid
or whatever?
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, and so on and so forth. So I love this. Weird Al has come out and said, he says, with my last movie, UHF, in 1989, I made a solemn vow to my fans that I would release a major motion picture every 33 years like clockwork. And I'm happy to say we're on schedule, and he's being very tongue-in-cheek, because, yes, there is a biopic about himself that he wrote, which makes me wonder if it'll be more than a little bit tongue-in-cheek, that is going to star no other than Harry Potter himself, Mr. Daniel Radcliffe, who is, of course, a tremendous acting asset. So that's fantastic. So I couldn't even imagine the lengths that they could go to make this. I think it's going to be nuts. It's going to be absolutely crazy. So I'm excited about this. Being produced now, this means that we will see this. Production started slated to begin next month. So I would imagine a year, or maybe Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this will not take a long time. I'm assuming will require minimal special effects, but right. I hope they do a lot of cameos. I hope they just have people playing, the people that he talked to. There was already a movie that I think you watched, Charlie. Did you see The Complete Al?
Golly.
It was a pseudo biopic behind the music that Weird Al made like in 1986.
It would have been a riff on probably the Complete Beatles, which was which was a biography it was basically a documentary, really from the early 80s, out of print, that was it was narrated by Malcolm McDowell. It was awesome. And I loved it on the VHS.
This was the same thing. This was narrated. It was just like very weird, but it came out in actually 1985, Charlie. So this is like, it's not like Weird Al was even out that long. Maybe like 82, he started really, coming out with Dr. Demento, and the fact that movie is, I loved it. As a kid, I rented it a billion times. I eventually ended up owning it. And it is so well done. Had a lot of it was basically showed all of his music videos, but had like interstitials and things behind it. But Weird Al just loves this stuff. I mean, he's one of my favorite artists. I even did a talent show where I lip synced in elementary school, like a surgeon, with several friends of mine to like surgeon. That was just me as a kid. My favorite artist. I loved Weird Al. I remember when Al TV would be on, he'd take over MTV. I mean, Weird Al's the best. I've seen him 4 times in concert.
Nice.
Maybe
this is what April did for me for Christmas. He's here in Grand Rapids in July, and I'll be going to see him at a very intimate venue in downtown Grand Rapids called 20 Monroe, like 2,500 seat theater. Half of it is mezzanines, half of it is a main floor. So it should be fantastic. So this is amazing. I'm totally on board for this. He's kind of a celebrated talent of the counterculture of our youth, of the geek community. Everybody loves Weird Al. So this is great news.
Yeah, Funny or Die is behind this, along with Roku. So basically, it's going to be on the Roku channel, which everybody can get on any device. So it's like, it's there, it's free, we'll have ads. That's it. Low hanging fruit. Watch it, have a good time. Harry Potter will never be better than this. So next story, Charlie, is interesting because it's kind of a mishmash of good and bad. G.I. Joe is and Transformers are both leaving IDW. Where we don't, in regards to the comics, we don't know will there be landing what publisher. But the cool part is we are getting a new comic book series, Charlie, which I think is right in your wheelhouse, and that is based on the Saturday Morning Adventures. It's called G.I. Joe Real American Heroes. So this could be a lot of fun. It's almost like a pseudo sequel to the cartoon, and will probably play off of that continuity, which was its own thing compared to the comic book.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny, the comic book had its own angle of being kind of gritty. It was written by Larry Hama, he was a Vietnam vet, and he was very practically engaged with a lot of the military aspects of it, where the cartoon itself was just kind of a whiz bang, like laser beams, and hey, I got a laser rifle, so I'm going to shoot down a fighter jet, so but again, the comic book audience absolutely had its niche, but many people think of the cartoon as being kind of the pioneering way that people think about G.I. Joe, and for better or for worse, kind of the silly slapsticky part of it what was adapted into the litany of failures of the films, at least in my opinion. So this is great. Yeah, I know Larry Hama announced, several months back that he was penciled down, that his title had been canceled. So how does this highlight his involvement, if any?
I mean, it doesn't. It'll probably credit him as a creator of the G.I. Joe, a lot of the characters and things. But this is really a different creative team. They're basically completely inspired by the cartoon era. So you even look like the covers of this when I pulled it up. I mean, they look exactly like the cartoon, which is what most people wanted anyways. And if they can make it like continuation quality, not like going back to the cartoon and like, it doesn't hold up, where they're like, you know what, we're just gonna have a good time, make Cold Slither come back and do a reunion tour. Why not?
Right. That's cool. I like that. And again, I'm out of monthly comics, but I love G.I. Joe. It's a big aspect of my interest in fandom. I'm still a collector of the figures. I do some cosplay. I'm involved in one of the cosplay charity groups. So yeah, I think this is cool. I would definitely love to take a crack at this. So this is great. This is being produced now. Do we have a drop date on when multiple cover variants? I don't know that we have a date on this, but
it's announced in November. So I mean, it's probably not that far off, I assume.
Right. So that's cool. I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not? Very cool. And I think IDW, their stuff comes to Comixology, so even if you don't buy it, it might be released there eventually. Or wait till the trade comes out and buy it there.
Right. Good stuff. So, all right, what else we got?
Well, Charlie, because you don't really talk about Star Trek news on your podcast anymore, we're going to talk about it here.
But I did tackle this one. It's funny. No, I did. I did record with Katie. Shame on you for not listening, because the episode came out yesterday. No, it was really great. I'm really excited to have Katie Quinn Pershawn, who is our frequent collaborator here on this show, with me for. It's funny. It turned out we had 4 episodes scheduled, but I asked her to join me for a movie review, and then she had a suggestion of going back through Star Trek Lower Decks, which was something that I had kind of mixed emotions about. She said, I loved it. I want to talk about the whole thing with you. So she's awesome. She's a great collaborator, but we talked about the story. Yeah, the Star Trek universe, which is the branded name for new ongoing Star Trek content on Paramount Plus, had an announcement about 10 days ago for their slate for basically now through I'd say late spring, early summer. So we are getting the return of Star Trek Picard, which we knew about, but it got nudged back a month. And then that's actually going to overlap with the return of Discovery now. That is the first time since, and I think we've talked about this previously, since back in the 1990s, that we've had an actual crossover of having more than one show available at the same time. Because what the streaming folks have followed is that they like to have the marquee week, like this is your Star Trek for the week, and that's all you got.
Get people in, right? It's like while you're watching this is also coming.
Right. So that's what we've got not only for the first 3 weeks of March, where the conclusion of Discovery season 4, which has been renewed for season 5, that was another part of the announcement, will overlap with the first 3 episodes of Star Trek Picard in season 2. And once that 10 episode run is done, which will be in early May, this was the part of it that made me the most excited. Strange New World, starring Anson Mount as Captain Pike, Ethan. Oh my God, I'm going to draw a blank on his name. Ethan. He's the son of the famous actor.
Ethan.
The To Kill a
Hawke.
Mockingbird guy. Not Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Peck.
Thank you very much. And then Rebecca Romaine as number 1, Ethan Peck being Lieutenant Spock. The Strange New Worlds, which we're going to get a 10 episode run, which will actually take us through the 4th of July holiday. The last episode will drop on July 7. Also, let us know that we too would expect later in the year season 3 of Lower Decks, and then another 10 episodes of Star Trek Prodigy, the kids style program, if you will, on Nickelodeon / Paramount Plus, currently on the air and set to wrap up its first half season. Excuse me, they've actually split the season. It says season 1.5, but it'll actually be it'll be a third of the season, because it ran for a while. We got Discovery, Prodigy is back, then Discovery, and then Prodigy again at some point. So I don't. The season 1 part of it is kind of bizarre. So, but yeah, for 2023, they promised us another season of Picard. Strange New Worlds already has a second season. I already mentioned Discovery, Lower Decks back for a 4th season, and then Prodigy as well. So we have mentioned, the golden age of Star Trek, if you will, was in the 1990s. That's when things were strong and powerful. What's above gold? Is this the platinum era of Star Trek, Todd? What would you call it?
Yeah, that would. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the good way. I mean, in comics, we had the Silver
Bronze
Age,
the Silver Age, yeah,
Gold Age, and modern, current / modern.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is
the modern.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the modern take on Star Trek. Yeah, because it's embracing modern storytelling. It's embracing modern streaming. And I wouldn't say any era is better than others, just of the time. And this seems to be more of the time than the latest interactions, which were like Enterprise. Enterprise didn't feel of the time. It felt like it was beyond it was past its prime.
Yeah, true. And I mean, and Enterprise was the end of an era in Star Trek where we had gotten the time-honored expression I like to use, the pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was too much of the same. So it had to die in order to be reborn. And, discounting people who really dislike it, which I don't really care about that. I don't really care. I don't really care about people who walk up to me in my capacity as the head of my fan club chapter and tell me how much they hate Star Trek now. You don't really love Star Trek if you don't love Star Trek. And let that be a word of advice to you too, Star Wars fans. You either like it or you don't like it. Don't call yourself a fan if you hate it, because that doesn't make any sense. But this is astonishing. We have, multiple palettes of Star Trek, different modes of storytelling, different time frames, different intended audiences. It's amazing. We're definitely in a good place for Star Trek. We've got a schedule for 2 years. That we're going to continue to see great new programming. It's just going to continue. So I am definitely fired up. And for all of your breaking Star Trek news and reviews and history, the Code 47 podcast right here on this awesome podcasting network is where you want to tune into. We do drop every other Monday. Myself, plus either Katie, as I had mentioned, or my partner Peter. So if you're not listening, please tune in. Subscribe on our network feed. You can find it.
Absolutely. Check it out. It's there on YouTube and audio podcasts for all your enjoyment. I do all the video production, so
yes,
there you go.
But it is his passion. He's wonderful.
I love it. It gets people out there. Another way to view it. If you don't like audio podcasts, you can watch it on YouTube or play in the background when you're at work. Cool beans. I do want to say about Discovery. I have not gotten back to Discovery after 2 episodes. I'm getting a little bit tired of the show that's all about the feels lately. It's like everybody has to cry every episode. And it's kind of feel like I get it, but after a time I'm like, I just want, and then it's also the drawn out season that it's like, where is it going? And right now I feel like this season, I'm not drawn in like I was previous seasons. And I think this show has gotten so reliant on that what's happening, and it's going to take 12 episodes to get there. And I would like to see them eventually go back to Mystery of the Week or something like that, where they can really focus on different things. And Burnham's great, but she is so much of the focus, and she's so much of the I can do everything. I'm the perfect person, and I've got to deal with my lover, and I'm constantly not making good decisions because I'm drawn by my emotions. And I'm like, that's great, but who's keeping you grounded? And everybody kind of like embraces her. So I like Picard. I like a captain who embraces, but also keeps a layer of separation, so he doesn't have to like always feel like, oh, I'm going to make them mad, or it's all about me.
Well, you will probably gravitate a little bit more towards Strange New Worlds. I think that's going to be your show because it's a little more traditional. I think it's going to be a little bit more Crisis of the Week, a lot more like TOS or TNG. Potentially not as episodic and is not as, emotionally, but because that was never the vibe I got from Captain Pike. Even Anson Mount's portrayal of being quite as Burnham-y. Though I do like. I mean, I think Sonequa Martin Green's performer is absolutely spectacular. I think
it's good, job. But it's a little, to me, she's a little one note. It's like too much of the touchy feely. I'm all about the emotion, and and I'm going to essentially always be on. Like no other captain except for Picard or Kirk, I guess, has been I've got to go everywhere and be part of the focus, right?
And again, there's a certain segment of the population that really, really seeks out that type of lead character. Certainly, if it's a woman, it's a person of color. That's what makes Star Trek so great, and that's what, like I said, one of the primary things to say about Star Trek: infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Lots of different, and none so more could be true of this current slate because it's so varied. Stuff for the kids, stuff for the cheeky adults, stuff for the traditionalists with Picard and with Strange New Worlds, and then a different direction with Discovery. You don't have to love it all, but again, as we always say here on SFU, don't yuck on someone else's yum. Let it be. Enjoy what you enjoy, and let the rest of it lay. That's it.
And you've got choice now. It's not like you've got only one Star Trek thing, and you gotta like it because you don't know when you're getting the next thing. Now you're getting essentially 4 to potentially 5 series, which is great. So if you don't like something, watch what you like and then bounce off and say somebody else can enjoy that. So very cool. So next story.
Yes, finally, I was going to say. Talk about the conquest of waiting. This was the thing that only thing in video games that has ever, and I've tried Arkham Knights, and I've tried The Last of Us, and I've tried the Spider-Man games. Nothing really grabs me. And it's a mixture of the nostalgia. It's a mixture of kind of the simplicity of gameplay and kind of the sameness. So I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing. But I have been waiting since late 2019 for Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, and I haven't really looked much into why this was so delayed. Todd, maybe as an insider, obviously you and Mark do the co-op mode right here on this network every other week, so you guys know a lot about this kind of stuff. I don't know why this is so delayed. I don't care why this is so delayed, because now on April the 5th, which is First Contact Day, by the way, that's a Star Trek thing. First contact between human and the Vulcans in the movie Star Trek First Contact. And it's the day after my wife's birthday. We are finally getting this game, and I'm excited. Todd got hyper-focused on the fact that the original Lego game, several of them, the characters didn't speak. They just kind of mumbled their way through, and we didn't get dialogue. And now, Todd, I know this appears to be very important to you. This is going to be one of those kind of red brick bonus things that you can bring back mumble mode. You're very excited about it. I don't want to restrain.
I just thought it was hilarious because
tell me why you're so excited.
That was a big complaint for a lot of people that they brought in voice. In the original Star Wars games, it was only like pantomime and just grunts and just and that acting and things like that. So some people love that, so it's there if you want. I love choice. It's not if you don't want it. Great. But going back, Charlie, which is one of the cool unlockables, which Lego's always had tons of unlockables depending on what you can do, which is fun. This is the biggest Lego game they've ever made. The fact that it's really not sequential, you can go between different worlds, 300 characters to unlock. But the biggest thing is, and there's some controversy because they said that the actual working environment was a little bit not so great because the push to get this out. New engine, though. This is the biggest thing. This is going to have a new engine. So it's not based on the old technology, which always said felt kind of basic in kind of color by numbers. The games always felt the same.
Right, and they did manage. They did manage from a technology point. They did manage to move some things forward, but it always felt very incremental. Like from one game to the next,
they're limited.
You could, your co-op was split so that the screen would split, so characters could be in different places at the same time. But really, it didn't really move things forward to a point that it felt it was that amazing. But again, I'm a simple guy. I like simple stuff. But if this is going to, I've had this pre-ordered, and it's funny. Todd came along and said, "Oh, but if you do the deluxe, you get these bonus packs and you get a minifig." And the only thing that I like about physical Lego, and again, I have a kind of a complicated history with Lego, and Todd, you know all about it and know why, so I'm not going to go into it. I love minifigs. It's funny. I was out traveling for work today, but I did stop by a Walgreens, and they sell the blind bags of the Disney Plus MCU TV shows, and we're trying to finish the set. So I usually pick up 3 or 4 of them at a time because we love them, and whatever bonus ones, whatever duplicates I get, I give to my friend Miranda's son because he's 8 years old and loves that stuff. But I love minifigs. I have a little collection of them. So this absolutely speaks to me. But yeah, the deluxe edition that actually talked me into buying comes with Luke with a carton of blue milk.
Yep.
I think it's spectacular. I know I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and they did change the gameplay quite a lot. So Charlie, I hope you're cool with this, man, because they are adding more complex gameplay, which is really cool. Like free aiming, the flight combat looks much better. They're adding the free shooting, which is pretty cool, and the combos and like when you're doing melee combat looks really cool, like fun. You can have like counters and you can go around somebody and do stuff. So that to me is what has always been lacking with Lego. It's basically Lego in the past has been whack, whack, whack. Collect bricks. So that to me is like it's essentially
Studs.
a monkey could do that, and it's like, well, that's not entertaining to me as a single player, especially there's no co-op from what I've seen online. So without that, I need something a little bit more challenging and impactful. So it looks like they're going the extra yard, and it took them 5 years to make this. So COVID came into play. All these things are there, but yeah, this looks really cool. It's in my GameFly queue. I will play it if it's online. This could be a ton of fun because Charlie and I could play. Bring you and Mark can't because he doesn't have he has a PS4 I think still, but not.
That's what I've got.
Yeah,
that's what I've got.
But I think cool. I don't even know if Mark still remembers it exists. So who knows? But this could be a lot of fun, and I've always wanted to play online with you in Lego. It's not been an option. Yeah.
So we don't know if that's going to be an option. Is that kind of
they haven't mentioned it, and with like 3 months away, it would seem like a feature they would pivot, but maybe they'll surprise us.
We'll see. Well, cool. Well, that takes us right up out of the news. So let me grab my phone. Let me get that Uber app back up again. We got to go to the nasty part of town. That's right. The Geek Easy is down in Bumtown, Zero Town. But that's where we'd like to hook up, have a great beverage, and talk about what we're geeking out about. So let's make it happen.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy cover band's plan, and we are getting our nerd on this week. Charlie, I think you might have watched this. Maybe you didn't, but let me know if you did. It's called Saturday Morning All-Star Hits. Did you watch it?
No, where was it at?
So it's on Netflix. It's Kyle Mooney is behind this. So Kyle Mooney from Saturday Night Live. SNL. Yeah, he's a weirdo. We know this. He does odd things, very bad, like accents and things. I'm like, I don't know how this guy is still on SNL. He must have like.
He's just. I would describe him as character actor as he's uncomfortable. He just everything he does kind of like.
I don't. I mean, yeah, kind of probably like Will Forte. Kind of maybe that's the best way to compare him to. Is somebody is just like, or what's his name? The guy from Portlandia.
Fred Armisen.
Yeah, that.
What I've heard in real life is that he's a real jerk. That's what I've heard about.
Oh,
him.
really?
Anyway,
okay. He does seem a little bit like. Yeah, he does seem a little bit odd, but still. Yeah. But yeah, he's that type of character, which I guess he's just really. He's probably like a comedian's comedian. You know, it's like comedians find him funny, but most people find him odd. So, that is what it is.
There's a great parallel in popular music. Is the musician's musician was Warren, the late Warren Zevon.
Oh yeah.
everybody loved him. In real life, he was apparently a real piece of shit. So, not to
And he
speak ill of
made
his
one
dad.
song we all know, which is
Well, I mean,
Werewolves of London. Yeah.
no, and that was his only hit, but he had a legacy of really deep, personal,
Sure.
introspective music that the likes of Jackson Browne and Bruce Springsteen loved him. So yeah,
Perfect. And then I would
yes,
say Werewolves of London, please.
yes, exactly. It was
Thank you. Yeah.
another cosplay selection.
Yeah. So this is
Or
an
a
odd
karaoke.
Yeah, so this is an odd mashup that would hit us right in our wheelhouse, and it did. So essentially, this is Kyle Mooney made this series on Netflix, which is a parody of the Saturday morning cartoons and kind of like the hosts or what we used to see with it. Like, you have Schoolhouse Rock, then you have like the funny kids, Saved by the Bell, and they would introduce cartoons and things like that. That's exactly what this is. But there's a dark side. So Kyle is playing two twins called Skip and Trebor, and they kind of act all extreme, and it's early 90s, and they wear neon, and everything is funny and goofy, and they're going to introduce cartoons, and these cartoons are like Denver the Last Dinosaur, except it's called Rodney, and he's got some problems. And then there's no one that's like called, like, it looks like the Care Bears, but they're like the Crater Bears, but there's a lot of adult issues. And then they have some other, I think they call them there's some other cartoons they introduced as well, but it's just very odd. And then they introduce it, they go through it, but then there's this through line, Charlie, with these two hosts of Skip and Trebor, where you sense there's like an undercurrent of like weird things that are going to happen as you watch the show. So like we find like this Rodney, the dinosaur who's extreme, he's a dinosaur that came from the past who dates a firefighter. There's lots of weird things. He hangs out with kids at a house. They have a house party. He sets it on fire. And then it's just weird. And then like the Care Bears, they're called the Creator Bears, but they work with, they're friends with this adult ad agency exec who hangs out with them to get ideas for it's very weird. It's very weird, but it looks exactly like those cartoons, Charlie. So I don't know. Okay. I'd say just check out the first episode. It's curious, it's weird, and it's doing something else. I'll watch another episode to see if it really hooks me, but it seems like this is going to take a very dark turn.
Oh, boy. Okay. I'll take your word for it. All right.
So step one. Next one is Naomi. This is a new show on the CW. It's based on a DC comic series. I'm interested in this one. It's really kind of a interesting concept about a girl growing up in a small town. She's very popular. Everybody knows her, but she was adopted. There's a military base, and we start finding out that she doesn't have a history of who her parents was, that who gave her up adoption. Long story short, you eventually find out that she potentially is a superhero of some sort, has an ability, and that's where this show is going. I'm 2 episodes in. I don't know what her abilities are yet, but there are some. One guy has revealed this in his town to be a alien character with abilities. Superman has made an appearance very off screen, essentially, which is kind of interesting. So I'm curious where this goes, but I'm feeling with the problem. I feel this I'm not sure if this is like a Truman Show type show where I feel like maybe the main character is in a world where she's being observed, because something doesn't feel right, and I feel like it's too much like artificial, and the characters aren't playing right. So I'm wondering if there's something there, or maybe it is that weird and it's going to find its place. But we'll see. 2 episodes in. I like the actors. It's very interesting, but it's not like a home run like Stargirl was for me. But I like the comic, so we'll see where this goes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's different. Take. I mean, it's a young hero story, so we'll see how that develops. And then lastly, Charlie, you and I both watched the Book of Boba Fett #4.
Indeed, we did.
And we are out. I think we're out of, and I can't say it because we've got episode 5 coming out tomorrow. I think we're potentially out of like the flashback focus.
I hope so, because this was the one, was it 3 or 4, where we finally saw that he came to the conclusion of no, this was the one where his flashbacks were the most recent, where you saw him rescue Fennec from near death and had to take it to had to take it to the weird
Yeah,
modifier.
marries us to the Mandalorian season 1.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and the dude, and again, Mark and I will talk about this in a little bit more in depth when we record next week for Holocron, but took him to the people who do droid bits and the
Yeah,
guy
now we're
who
getting
is the
into
main
some
dude.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting into some weird like cybernetics that I don't think we've really
Right.
focused on much in Star Wars, and it's still going that weird like we're seeing more of those Vespa bikers too, which is a
Right.
weird thing, which they're trying to make a thing on Tatooine, which we never seen before. So it's a weird
Right.
pivot. Yeah.
It is weird because you wouldn't really think of anything tech related in Tatooine being kind of a funky skunk hole that you'd really see that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of bizarre. So, but yeah, this episode he rescues Fennec. It's his mission to liberate his ship, which this talk about fake controversy that makes the toxic Star Wars fans so mad. The ship has never been, the name of it has never been spoken, but it had always been thought to be referred to as Slave One, a fire spray class ship. Well, Slave One in modern parlance has been deemed offensive. Disney wanted to do away with it. So in this episode, when describing what his target is when he and Fennec are having a fireside chat, he says, "I need to rescue my ship. It's a fire spray class vessel." So it has no name. It is the ship that has no name. There you go.
I know some people say, well, that would be like Han Solo calling it his Corellian freighter, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't care. If anybody cares that much about a name of a vehicle that ultimately is a very funky, seems like after you think about the vehicle itself, very weird that it even, flies the way it does, goes sideways, you have to land into it. It seems like a very dumb vehicle overall. I'm like, who thinks this is a great design?
Weird shape.
So and then the blasters are on the tail, which you can't even shoot at, and it's just really.
And the missile launcher is on the back, but it drops bombs instead of shoots missiles. So it's really.
And I always thought it flew like this, but then I never forgot. Like, no, it flies like this, which I'm like, that's not aerodynamic.
There's no aerodynamics in space. This episode, so yes, you see Boba liberating his ship from Jabba's hangar or whatever.
But we got the awesomest Tom and Jerry moment in Star Wars history, Charlie, which seemed like a callback to like the early days of Clone Wars, where it's like it's wacky hijinks and goofiness.
Right, exactly. And I did love to see him taking on the Sarlacc. That was kind of cool. And using the bomb launcher.
Point of order, Charlie. Apparently, they did that actually in the comic book, so this is now retrofit that, which was comic books post the combination in the new trilogy.
Anything pre-Marvel,
they're just doing whatever they want, and that was the dumbest way to get his suit, anyways. And the fact that apparently he's got PTSD, he doesn't even remember the fact that the Jawas stole it from him. So I'm like, okay, they're doing whatever. This series is essentially making no sense. It is dumb fun. It's not good. And if anybody tells me this is good, I'm like, no, it's not good. The dialogue isn't great. The direction's kind of not that great. The action isn't that great. It's not the Mandalorian, though. I believe very firmly the episode 5 will have a Mando tie, because what was nice about this episode, we did get that preview.
You did end with Fennec saying, well, we're going to have to get some help if we're going to go to war, because they're looking like they're going to have to take on the Pike Syndicate, which is the alien race that has the train was theirs, whatever. And after she said that, you heard the Mando theme. So we're going to get somebody, and everybody's talking, are we going to see Dr. Aphra? Are we going to say Emilia Clarke's Kira character? That's one that our friend John he's been talking to me about. He's very excited. Are we going to see, Aphra's evil killbots, 000 and BT? So there's lots of possibilities. Having Black Chrysanthemum, and he got kind of some nice scenes in this episode too. An adapted original Marvel Comics character put to screen is just fucking fantastic. I absolutely love it. I'm totally fired up.
Yeah,
for that part of it.
And let's just remember, Star Wars has never been like high art. It's been goofy science fiction, beat 'em up, shoot 'em up, whatever. It's fun. I'm just glad we're past the whole. We're gonna see how brave Boba was with the Tuskens, and it's like, once again, we're not seeing a very good story arc with Boba. Quite honestly. we're not seeing like he was redeemed, or I mean, like I said, if he becomes evil, that's the story arc. Right now, he has become a honorable man who stays honorable and realizes that together we achieve more. Team.
This is a kumbaya moment all together now, like the Beatles.
Essentially, yeah. He goes, "Oh, we're stronger." I'm like, so essentially, I'm like, yeah, they just aren't doing much here, but people just want to see Boba Fett be cool. And Fennec is great, and I think that's goofy, and I love seeing a cool, Wookiee that's neat. And if he rides a Rancor, even better. And if we get the army of Ewoks and Jawas coming in to kick some ass, and Charlie, guarantee it, this is my prediction, we are getting some of the Tuskens who did survive that you didn't see get killed will come back and save the bacon. That's what it's going to be.
It's going to be a bacon saving bonanza. All right, well, let's keep things moving for timeliness sake. So
there's something more exciting. Real life crime drama in Michigan, fake comedy.
Oh my God, Todd! I've just found a name for the episode. # Fake Michigan. April and I have become really enamored with the works of this actor, writer, director, producer, Taylor Sheridan. He's the guy who turns out, and leave it to my wife and her magic Googling skills to find out that Taylor Sheridan had a bit part on an episode of Star Trek Enterprise back in the early 2000s. So not only is this guy write amazing dramas, but he's a Star Trek guy. He has a connection. But no, he's the guy behind Yellowstone. He's the guy behind 1883, which is the prequel to Yellowstone. But he's got another show on Paramount Plus starring Jeremy Renner. And I'm like, oh, how did he pull Jeremy Renner? But you'll find out in the second
He was too busy. He wasn't making any Jeep money anymore.
Anyway, well, I come to find out that Jeremy Renner has the same horrible child support issues that I do. My wife pointed out to me he just got dragged in a divorce too. So I kind of feel like maybe Jeremy Renner and I have more in common than I ever could have thought. But regardless, Jeremy Renner over on Paramount Plus stars on a show called The Mayor of Kingston, which is supposed to be a very Detroit-looking city in Michigan, which is funny as you watch the show. It's pointed out that it's north of Detroit, so I'm kind of feeling
Shirley, I think this is based on Jackson.
It's Flint.
Because Flint has no prisons. This is based in Jackson, man, because Jackson is known for its prison. This is a Jackson-centric show.
But here's the thing.
It doesn't matter about the location. It doesn't matter about the location. Jackson. This is about prison. Jackson is a prison-centric.
You're trying to create, protect your beloved Flint, which is a prison.
No, it's when it's prison in Michigan, it's Jackson. Yeah.
But what's interesting is that they create this, and it's funny. Kingston is an actual prison in Ontario, which is where they filmed this. But the concept of it is it's a town that's built around several prisons that are all close to each other. A women's prison, a male's, obviously a maximum security men's prison.
Jackson, Michigan.
No,
it is. Jackson is a Michigan community or a prison community, which is part of their main economy, which is what the show is about.
Consumers Energy is also based in Jackson. That's a big part of theirs as well. So, Mr. putting down poor Jackson, Michigan. But anyway,
Jackson, Michigan is known for its prisons.
That was always a joke with my uncle. He said, I'm going to state. He said, oh, Jackson.
Exactly. Ding, ding, ding.
But regardless, Renner is the star of this, and Taylor Sheridan uses a lot of the same actors, so I do see some faces that I definitely saw in Yellowstone. I saw in 1883, and this was, like many shows that you see on streaming. Again, this is on Paramount Plus. This is 10 episodes, and in watching this, I kind of tipped us off to the 2017 movie written and directed by him called Wind River, which starred Renner and actually Elizabeth Olsen, just post them, those two actors being in the first two Avengers Age of Ultron, and then Captain America Civil War, which was, Avengers 2.5. Absolutely captivating tale in this. He is a fish and wildlife officer. She is an FBI officer brought in to solve what appears to be a brutal murder of a woman frozen in the ice. It takes place in Wyoming. It was a rape, but they have to kind of go back and decode this, but also working within the fact that it's an Indian reservation, and a lot of the same actors and a lot of the same themes that you turn around and see in Yellowstone. And it's just an absolutely heart-wrenching tale but extremely well made. And April and I actually watched 1883. Had a bye week, but they had a documentary in between where Taylor Sheridan talked a lot about he grew up in Texas and he has a lot of affinity and connection to the Native American culture in this country, and how he really works to be faithful to talking about that. And I think that this film really spoke to that as well. It's on Netflix. Again, came out in 2017. It's awesome. So I would highly recommend it, but it is not for the faint of heart. It's very gritty. And John Bernthal also stars in it. Very touchy subject, but I think really, really well made. Finally, speaking of, I guess we're on a gritty kick, and I'm not sure who the creative team is behind this, but the show Ozark, which is on Netflix, that's Jason Bateman. It's Laura Linney. I didn't realize she was in that. And another couple of names that you will readily recognize, about a Chicago financier who finds out that his business partner was in with a Mexican drug cartel, and our Jason Bateman, being our lead character, has to disappear his family to Ozark, which is which is a lake community in southern Missouri, filmed in Atlanta because, of course, Atlanta. It's great. It's run for 4 seasons. It's on right now. We've just started it. Todd, have you ever sampled it?
No, I've heard good things. I mean, it's kind of coming off the Breaking Bad style of, someone that's below the radar that becomes basically a criminal, who
pretty much,
and it's essentially saying, well, I empathize with him, but he's like, no, you shouldn't empathize with them because they make bad decisions and do bad things. And I've heard people, the local stations 100%. talking about this and where that's pivoted. And I'm like, right. I mean, it sounds like a very good show, but I'm so late to the audience that I'm like, okay, well, it would be very hard to catch up now.
Right. Well, and the thing is, it is and it isn't. I know your viewing is somewhat limited to.
Well, Charlie, you will watch like 5 episodes a day, though.
We don't have any we don't have any kids running around here. We both work from home, so it's easy.
Well, we watch maybe an hour of television a day, so then it's like we got to find something that's it's very hard to watch a show like that and keep together. So we're just by the end of the day we work all day, So it's you're in retirement mode apparently. You got a lot of
my back. I can tell you. Exactly, I wouldn't say I have a lot of free time, but we do have a lot of free time to watch.
I think per capita you watch more television than I think I watch in a year. You watch in like 2 months.
You're measuring it in capitas now? I don't know. I don't know if that's any fair.
So.
But anyway.
So I'm lucky if I get like 5 hours of television a week, to be honest.
It's on Netflix, and I think it's to be exceptional. So most of the stuff we talk about is on streaming because that's the world we live in. So
absolutely. Right. Nobody's buying DVDs at this stage or things over the air. Yeah.
Few people are, but probably not anybody we really pay attention to. So, oh well.
Absolutely.
And that's a wrap. So,
in that mode of uncomfortable pause, there we go.
Yes,
we are.
Silences,
yes, we are done with the Geek Easy. We're going to transition over to a more tropical destination, and that's our favorite place to talk about geeky topics and games, and that's the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome for a topic or a game to be entertained, and we are back to Tada Show. So we haven't done this one in a long time, so if you're familiar...
It reminds me I have to update the because we always try to do these in such a way that we don't repeat them that often, so I will make sure that I update that we're doing it today. But you go ahead.
Yeah, so Tada Show is it's based on a premise of I would essentially watch one episode of something and then tell you how the show continues because I don't always keep watching shows. I've gotten better about it, but that's a throwback to if you've listened to the show. Charlie always will mention that I only watch one episode. That's okay. It is what it is. But we then turn this into an actual game called Tada Show where we each pick a TV show or a movie with just the title. And then we have to determine the elements of this movie, what happens, the plot, and more so, we can add in elements of a director, a cast, whatever you want, and it's fun. So we are going to do this again, and I said, let's pick Amazon Prime Video. So if you've ever perused the Amazon Prime Video, you get some good stuff, and then you get like, how the hell? I didn't know this existed. This is like your straight to rental, the VOD stuff, and it's like, well, they're still making this
Right.
stuff. I didn't even know this,
Ju-
so we're gonna go there.
You just keep scrolling.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we even like we were on like C2E2. I think we tried to watch some of these and like,
Right.
what is this junk? So we're gonna start there. So we picked Amazon Prime Video. So if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, by all means, check these out and watch them and give us your review of them. But we're gonna just take the title and then go into the details. So Charlie is going to tell me the title he picked, and I will have to give my interpretation of what this movie is.
Oh yeah. Well, you're dealing with a film from the year 2020. 1 hour and 29 minutes of a film called Far from the Apple Tree.
And this is there, can you at least give me a genre?
It's science fiction is the subhead
Okay.
that it's under, yeah.
I would not have existed with that title. I'm going to write it down. Far from the Apple Tree. Okay, and I've never heard of this, so I'm going to guess it's Hollywood adjacent. So this might be in like
this is genre science fiction horror, directed by Grant McPhee. Never heard of him.
Okay,
starring
that's okay. That's you can stop there.
Saoirse Groundsell and Victoria Liddell. So nobody you know.
Well, you didn't have to give me the actor, Charlotte, because I was imagining my cast. So
you can, but I'm just it was merely meant to illustrate that it is completely off the radar. It was not a bad thing.
So yeah, considering this is probably from the San Fernando Film Festival region, we'll go from there of the sci-fi genre. So Far from the Apple Tree. I will give my best. And you said it's a recent film, so very good.
Yes.
I expect high values from this film. So we're going to go with Far from the Apple Tree. Let's see. This is based on a, as you said, sci-fi horror genre. The horror part is going to be the fact that this is about a family that runs an apple orchard. This is their pride and joy. It's about the father grooming his children to take over the orchard. They make cider. They have, you've seen this, Charlie, in Michigan, where you have the apple orchard, where you have the cider mill. In a fake city in Michigan, potentially has a prison.
New Severn City, Jacksonplex.
Exactly. Has a prison outside of the apple orchard where you make the cider and the apple cider donuts, and you have a band, and you have all those things. This is kind of that industry that we get in rural Michigan. So, things are awry, though, Charlie. We find out, though, that there is essentially, they've gotten some new seeds from a vendor that happen to have some nuclear waste.
It's Tamako, like what Homer Simpson grew.
It's like
with
from
the tomatoes. I just watched that episode with the tomatoes and the tobacco.
Yeah, it's from the Springfield soil they brought in. Unfortunately, that Blinky was created in. They raise these new hybrid seeds, and unfortunately, you see them plant these as a family. And then you see 20 years pass where these seeds have matured in these beautiful trees, but there's something under the soil. And it's not just a reference to the soil inside, it's the family as well. There's dissension, family hurt in the soil. And
nuclear apples. Inside.
It feeds off of their discontent, the family issues, the betrayal, the abuse. And then
Apple Dallas.
Yes. And then we get mutant apple trees, Charlie, who kill and use the blood to make the most delicious apples. Oh my goodness.
Cider.
Ian Ziering shows up to make this a fun time. And he is the huntsman. God. He is he is a special huntsman who is known to come and take down he's a lumberjack by trade, Charlie, but he's experienced this before.
And he's okay.
Yes, he lost a child to a mutant tree years before, and he's got to save Tara Reid and her children.
And the Sharknado.
And we've had deaths such as impalement by limbs. We had mulching deaths. We have someone who basically is stuffed with apples, like Homer with Uter. So this is how it ends. And we
Oh
end
my
up
God.
finding that we get Ian Ziering with a mega mulcher tool, ends up killing the tree, and all is done. And of course, it's not the end, because we're going to get a sequel to this, Charlie. We get one remaining apple, and the seed of the apple falls into the ground. And that's where we're left in the finishing sequence.
Now I don't even feel like I can watch it.
Did I get it right?
To the end. I mean, it's so completely not spot on that it couldn't be any more wrong. Because the deal with Far From the Apple Tree is as such. As described, it is an eclectic mix of a ghost story, fantasy, and horror. Judith is a struggling artist who lands a dream job of working for a renowned and somewhat sinister visual artist. Her work includes cataloging the artist's video footage, and in doing so, she discovers film sequences of a woman, the artist's dead daughter, who looked exactly like herself. Oh, snap! That sounds captivating, but not at all like what you described. But I can see it both ways. I can see it both ways.
You know what? If they just used my screenplay, it would have been the top rental on Amazon Prime Video.
It would have been the time. It'd have been the time of your life, baby. All right. Well, great.
So you're watching on that on Saturday, Charlie?
I might watch it right after. I might stay up till midnight and watch it. I don't know. It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. Okay. All right. What do you got for me? What do you got?
Okay, Charlie. I'm going to give you the choice. So, give you two choices. So, Agent Revelation or Iron Sky: The Coming Race?
Well, definitely the second one.
Okay, here you go.
Coming in socks or Come On Eileen.
All right, so let me just pull this up really quick just to make sure I've got it right. So I've got all the IMDb database, got the right cast and everything. Here we go. So I'm good to go. From Amazon Prime Video, it's there for you. So be ready for this. So Iron Sky: The Coming Race, 2019 on Amazon Prime Video, Charlie.
Oh my God. Well, Iron Sky refers to a world. Let's say it's kind of a post-industrial world. It's in a science fiction element where you have a planet that has become so industrialized that, much like Tony Stark described in Age of Ultron on the Avengers side, there was a suit of armor built around the world. So, this planet in this far-flung corner of the universe was so besieged by war and by conflict that they needed to build an entire shield around their world that was a physical dome. So that's the Iron Sky. And Todd, what was the second part of it? The coming what now? The coming storm?
The coming race.
The coming race. What has happened in this culture of this world is that, being so isolated from this otherwise large galactic community, they've had to do things to really find new ways to connect within their culture, and they have a race. They have a race around that, like an 80-day race around the world. So they live on this planet, and so there are two communities. There are the Alphas and the Bravos, and they each present a champion. Well, in this case, the coming race refers to the male champion from the Bravo team, the female champion from the Beta team. They're bitter rivals as a society, but of course, being involved in this race, what do they find? Not only the thirst for competition, but the luster of love. That's right. The Alpha and the Betas discover that in competition with each other, that their true passion is for each other. That's what you got.
Oh, Charlie. I wish it was true.
Me too. But I get the feeling that it's not.
Okay, Here you go. Iron Sky: The Coming Race. This is actually a sequel to a movie
called The Iron Sky, right?
Yes, a follow-up from the film Iron Sky, 2012, which the Nazis plan to take over the world after lying dormant in a secret military base on the moon. Yes.
Oh, on the moon. How did they get to the moon? It's
yes, this
unimportant.
gets even better, Charlie. So in the sequel, though, we find that the truth behind the creation of mankind will be revealed when an old enemy leads our heroes on an adventure into the Hollow Earth. To save humanity, they must fight an ancient shape-shifting reptilian race in their army of dinosaurs. Directed by
my
Timo.
God. But in the Dean Devlin, the Roland Emmerich movie that's about to come out, it's the moon that's hollow and that is the base. So is the moon hollow and the Earth is hollow, but there's dinosaurs in the hollow Earth that are going to attack us? I mean, I got to see it. I got to see it.
They're all chock full of like creatures that are going to kill us. But this was directed by Timo Venturola. Starring Lara Rossi, Vladimir Bolakorova, Kit Dale, and it's available. There you go, Charlie. So you know what? What I saw of the trailer, there's like a dying Hitler on a dinosaur. What could be better?
I don't even need, I don't even need to watch it now. Everything that I need comes right from what you told me. So I'm sold. Let's do it. Let's
at
party.
least watch the trailer. All I ask is watch the trailer.
I may have to. The Coming Race. Good stuff. Oh, my God. Well, yeah, it's... God, I love this segment. It's good stuff. That's good stuff. But we always try, when it comes to games, to make sure that we don't do it too often. So you'll not hear from us again doing this for several months. But that doesn't mean that if you hit us up on Twitter, @SecretFriendsU, that we wouldn't try our hands at doing one virtually on Twitter. So, Todd, I'm up to the challenge. How about you?
Oh, yeah, we can stream one. We can do one live.
If
We're doing it live.
If one of our faithful listeners says, "Well, here's a title. Give me a Todd a show for this," I would jump on. Yeah, absolutely, I would.
We can do a Twitter space. That would be that. The Twitter spaces. We have not gone into that realm. We could definitely do that. We could do a Twitch stream.
Right.
There's so many ways to do this, Charlie. Mark would be on board. We're even into Wordle now. It's fantastic.
Don't have any idea what that is, but that's conversation for another time.
You don't know what Wordle is?
Well, no, I mean, it sounds like a noise a goose might make when it's dying.
Wordle! Very, very quickly, Wordle is a word game, and it's setting the world on storm. It's where you see the graphic where you have like the grid with the colors on Twitter.
Oh, I've been wondering about that. Okay.
It's a word game. You have basically 6 chances to get a word right. You put your first word in, and if you got any of the letters right, they are either green or yellow, meaning yellow means it's in the word. Green means you got the right word in the right letter in the right space. It's very fun. Mark and I just started a channel in our Discord. So join us on Discord to play Wordle and show what you did in the Wordle.
Please do. Yeah, and again, as we start to wrap up the show, those are all the things that you'll hear in our canned intro. But yeah, you're going to want to find us over on Twitter and then apparently on our Discord channel. Just search for Secret Friends Unite.
We're having a good time.
We absolutely are. And again, to wrap up, I'm going to tell you as always, friends, thank you for joining us. I am at the C3, spell it out, over on Twitter. I also run the Facebook groups for Secret Friends Unite. That content is usually me posting it. And I also run the USS Grand Petoskey, a chapter of the Star Trek International Fan Club here in Michigan. Find us on Facebook or at that web address. But Todd, what about you? Where do people find you at?
Yeah, at Toxtra is the best way to find me. But I also do, along with this podcast, I do Co-op Mode with Mark Carabin, the Canardian, who does podcasts with Charlie. We talk about all things video games. This week we talked about the wonderful world of mergers and acquisitions with Activision. We had a ton of fun there. We had a good time, and we talked about Wordle, actually. So there you go.
Wordle.
And
Wordle.
We're having a fun time in the Discord, so join us there. And if you want to see us on Twitch and other areas, we can do that too. So join us and have some fun.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.